Integrated Science for WASSCE students. These are trial questions. Question number 70. Which of the following statements is or are correct? In the vacuum flask or the thermos flask, a vacuum is created between the two walls. The outside faces of the glasses are silvered. The heat loss by conduction is reduced by the use of a cork stopper. So which of these options are correct? Is it only I, which is option A, or all the options are correct, that is option B, I, and I, or C, only I is correct, or D, I and I only. So let's look at the solution to this question. Let's go to our next page. So this is the vacuum flask, and it is made up of a double-walled glass container, and in between the two walls there is a vacuum or near vacuum. There's a vacuum here or near vacuum. So in between this, the two walls, there's a near vacuum there or vacuum condition. And then there are silvered glass walls. So the outside walls of the glass container are silvered, or they are shiny surfaces, polished or silver surfaces. And then there is a stopper of insulation material. Normally they use cork because cork is an insulator. That's a plastic cork, an insulator. And then there is a support of insulating material, also a cork material as an insulating material. So why do we have all these features? In the first place, the double-walled container, which has a vacuum in between the double walls here, prevents heat transmission by both conduction and convection. So the vacuum space which is created in between the double wall glass container prevent or reduce heat loss by both conduction and convection. Then secondly, the silvered glass surfaces here also reduce or prevent heat loss by thermal radiation. Heat loss by thermal radiation is reduced because for thermal radiation, when the surface is rough, then heat loss by radiation is increased. But here the surface of the glass is silvered or is polished just to reduce heat loss by radiation. Then finally, heat loss by conduction is reduced by the use of insulating material as the stopper. That's the cork, because we know that plastic or cork is an insulator, so it does not conduct heat well. Therefore, the cork material which is used as the stopper prevents or reduces heat loss by conduction. Likewise, the support, which is also made of an insulating material such as cork or plastic. So these are the mechanisms by which heat transmission is prevented in the vacuum flask. So let's look at the summary in this page. So the structure of the vacuum flask is that one, it is made up of two glass-walled bottles, one placed in the other and joined together at the neck. The gap between the bottles is partially evacuated to create a new or a near vacuum condition which prevents heat loss by conduction or convection. Then the silvery surfaces of the glass walls prevent heat transmission by thermal radiation, as I indicated earlier. Then lastly, the insulating cork which covers the opening prevents heat transfer by conduction. So let's look at the answer to the question. If you look at the question well, A vacuum is created between the two walls, which is true because that vacuum prevents heat loss by both conduction and convection. Then the outside faces of the glasses are silvered, which is also true to prevent heat loss by radiation. Then the heat loss by conduction is reduced by the use of a cork stopper, which is also true. Therefore, the correct option is option B. That is, all the options there are correct. So this is the correct option. This is the correct option. That is option B. In the formation of an ionic compound, atoms of one of the combining elements must A. convert neutrons to electrons, B. lose protons, C. gain protons, D. gain electrons. So when we say ionic compound, it means the atoms that combine are such that one loses one or more electrons. That is the electropositive atom loses one or more electrons, which is normally a metallic atom. And then the other atom, which is more electronegative, which is normally a non-metallic atom, gains one or more electrons. So In the process, the metallic atom, after losing its electron, forms a cation, while the non-metallic atom, after gaining the electron, forms an anion. And then the two oppositely charged ions attract each other by an ionic bond. So basically, that is how an ionic compound is formed. So looking at the options here, the correct option is option D, because one of the atoms must lose its electron and the other atom must gain its electron. So in this case, because there is a gain of electron here, that is the correct option. In fact, there is no conversion of a neutron to an electron, or there is no loss of proton. In fact, chemical reactions do not involve neutrons and protons. It is the electrons which are actually involved. So the option, or the correct option for this question, is option G. Number 19. The gas given off during photosynthesis can be identified by using A. Potassium hydroxide, B. A glowing splint, C. Lime water, D. Litmus paper. So the question is, what type of gas is given off during photosynthesis? The answer is oxygen gas. It is oxygen gas which is given off during photosynthesis. Then the question is, how do we identify oxygen gas? Identified by using a glowing splint. In fact, anytime you have a glowing splint and then you bring it near oxygen gas, or if you put this glowing splint into oxygen gas, the glowing splint will rekindle, or it will relight, showing that the gas there is oxygen gas. So that is how we test for oxygen gas. In fact, if you look at option C, lime water, we use lime water to test for carbon dioxide or carbon 4 oxide gas. But since carbon dioxide is not given off during photosynthesis, the option is not option C. So the correct option is option B, because it is oxygen gas which is given off. Thank you for watching.